Welcome everybody to the video. Ged, welcome back.
Thank you kindly.
It is we're talking about it a little bit before, but like it is a great day for myself and a lot of long suffering fans. I know this isn't a sports channel, but god damn it, Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet. And I know we had Brett Favre and we've already been down this path before and it ended up in flames, but there is just a new sense of hope. That has not been.
Are you sure that the guy who went
time.
somewhere to hallucinate for 4 days is your new sense of hope? Like this is your salvation?
He needed the darkness to tell him, hey, the New York Jets might be.
He thought when it couldn't get any worse, he could emerge and be a New York Jet.
So potentially,
we're going to have a second butt fumble.
Aaron Rodgers, he'll be 40 years old this year, I believe. He's 39 right now. I think he's going to turn 40.
Yeah.
Could go down as the greatest New York Jet ever. That's how pathetic the franchise is.
I don't know where you're going with this, but
he wins the Super Bowl year one and just rides off into the sunset. Like,
whoa, okay, you need to take it down. Aaron Rodgers is not winning you a Super Bowl the first year he's there. Aaron Rodgers would be lucky to get through 15 weeks of a season the first week he's there.
If there's any bugaboo on his resume, so to speak, it's lack of playoff success. He does get the one Super Bowl, but there's been a lot of, losing to the Giants, losing to the 49ers. So if he could go take literally the worst franchise I don't know if they're as worse as some.
So you're basically hoping for some Tom Brady syndrome. Is that really what's happening here?
He could take one of the worst cursed franchises and win a Super Bowl. He'll go down as he's already one of the greatest quarterbacks. He'll go down as arguably one of the best, if not the best. That's how crazy it would be taking the New York Jets all the way at age 40.
I mean, like I said, you're looking for the Tom Brady syndrome. I hope that you're not placing bets on that. I know you and I are talking about, we've been talking off camera about going back to a place where you can make bets. I hope that you do not put any money on Aaron Rodgers winning a Super Bowl with the New York Jets. You'd be better money seeing if he could make it through the regular season with playing every game than going anywhere in the playoffs.
No, man, it's the curse is finally going to lift. Like, I'll probably be crying halfway through the season because everything fell apart. But as of right now, I could not be more excited. All
right, fair enough.
It's good times.
Yep. All right.
So I had Corbin on the stream last week, and we broke All Things Down season finale.
And I have not watched the stream yet. I must admit, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I will toss it to you. Just quick thoughts on the season finale, and then we'll talk about the season in a whole, and then we'll get to some news and rumors floating out there, and break some of that stuff down.
Well, I watched the season finale on an iPad on a plane. I downloaded it the Wednesday before we boarded. I mean, the season finale was fantastic based on what the season gave us. The season was so fast-paced. Everything happened at just such a rapid speed. I loved that they didn't slow that down. I love that they kept up the pace. I loved what happened with Moff Gideon again, finally, although, he's obviously he's just never going to die. You called it. I was thinking about it when I watched it. You absolutely nailed it with he was trying to make clones of himself and trying to find a way to infuse
we got
some
a lot of
force-sensitive DNA.
What his actual plan was.
What's that?
We got a lot of confirmation as to what his actual plan was.
Yeah, and I think a lot of validation for what your thoughts were as well. Like you called that out pretty quickly. So that was super impressive when I saw it. I'm like, all right, Tyler, well done.
I also called no Thrawn in the finale.
You did call no Thrawn in the finale. I was bummed. I was bummed to not see Thrawn in the finale, but I mean, all in all, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
What about you? What did you guys talk about last week? Kind of give me the minutes.
I think just the high level Cole's notes. I think I gave it an 8.9 actually.
Okay.
There's a couple things that I just kind of took me out of it a little bit. I loved like the big Mando fight scene set piece. I think if you're a Mandalorian lover, seeing the Dark Troopers versus the Mandos old jetpacking together was cool.
So cool.
But by getting that, we didn't get the big space battle I wanted. You know what I mean?
Fair.
There was a little space action, which again, it was sweet seeing the interceptors and bombers just take apart that cruiser, but like it was very brief.
Yeah, it's fair.
Instead, we got the other action. And again, I can't complain because this is a series about liberating Mandalore, regaining control of Mandalore, getting the Empire out. Of course, it's going to be Mandalorians like fighting their way. So like I can't get mad at it for that regard. You know, I was really hoping, we talked about this. I was hoping for like a Boba Fett or a Sabine to come in. We got no cameo.
Nothing. The only person from there we've had is Seb.
Yeah. And we'll talk about Boba Fett later because that's some of the news I'm going to read to you. And there's just a couple odd things. And like the one thing that kind of bugged me was at the very beginning when Mando was getting taken away to his jail cell, Grogu just pops up out of nowhere. Like how the hell that happen? He was behind the blast door and they was running away this way, and Mando's on the other side getting taken into the Imperial compound, and just Grogu pops in out of nowhere. Like, I get it. They wanted to get Mando free and with Grogu them to work together, but like, they really gave zero effort into like figuring out a way to reunite them. They just made him appear, which
it was very cool how he did it though, being able like using the Force, you know, against the guard. Like I thought that was pretty neat. But yeah, no, that's true. He literally just shows up.
I liked the Gideon battle. Again, the kind of thing that's, you know, a little maybe underwhelming is the last, basically all 3 season finales have been them versus Gideon. There was no other threat showed up, right? So it kind of made it didn't feel like, it just felt like any other season. Like it was, I don't know. I thought they had to up it a little bit, which they didn't. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit more.
Okay.
There was some funny stuff that popped up.
And by the way, I would be at the same score as you.
Would you? Okay. Cool.
Oh yeah, I would be at 8-9. It was, I loved seeing the Mandalorian fight scenes, having Bo-Katan and the Armorer side by side, her with the dark saber ignited. I mean, cinematically, it was just super cool. I'm definitely going to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah. And then this is fine. This is going to lead into our conversation a little bit, but like, look at this scene. So see how, like, look at Bo-Katan, see how, I don't even know what this piece is called, but see how her little aiming thing is on the proper side of her helmet, and they come in. Okay, watch. So she's gonna sweep to the right, look to right. Now watch this. They go back to, but axe balls flying up. Now look at her. It's the same clip. All they did was horizontally flipped it, but now she's mirrored and her thing's on the wrong side. And look at, now she points to the other side. It's the exact same clip. Like,
I never would have picked that out.
That to me, I laughed when I saw that. That's like,
did you notice it in real time?
I did not notice in real time. I saw and put me onto later, and I watched it, and and you know what? Like, I'd like to get on them, but like, I didn't notice real time, which I think is, you know, I wasn't paying attention to that little things. But the funny thing is like when I do a lot of my edits, like say I'm trying to make it seem like 2 characters are talking to each other who really didn't, and you say one person's aiming this way, and I really name it, like I use horizontal flip all the time to manipulate scenes. So I found it amusing that the actual pros went in there, just said, "Hey, we'll just flip the scene on itself, and no one will notice." No one will know. But like I couldn't. It was funny they did that. So let's talk about Moff Gideon for a second.
Okay.
I had a thought. when me and Corbin were doing our reaction, and it's obviously a thought now a lot of the community is thinking. I don't think it is, but it's fun whenever you have clones. Do you think the Moff Gideon that died was a clone? Like, do you think the real Moff Gideon is actually alive? And I'll tell you why the rumor kind of like why it works for me personally is
Okay.
the timeline between the end of Mando, when Grogu first goes to Luke, to the Book of Boba Fett. That was 2 years. John Favreau and Dave Filoni have confirmed, right?
Okay, it makes sense.
They're gone. We don't know how long ago Gideon was actually broken out. It's like he could have been broken out right at that 2-year mark, a little bit after. It could have been really early. We don't kind of know, but that base was kind of up and running and had research going on in clones. Could the clone have been on that base the whole time running that operation while Gideon was captured?
No.
No, you don't think there's
because he makes reference to it. He makes reference to it.
He makes reference that those final stage clones were the Force sensitive ones, but the Moff Gideon on the base wasn't Force sensitive.
He was not mind you.
He wasn't.
The other ones would have worked anyway.
And the biggest and the other thing that people have talked about is that Gideon on the base was clean shaven, and every other scene with Gideon in season 2 and season 1, he had a mustache. So was it just, a costume change to go with new armor? Or is that
the mustache giveaway?
Yeah. Or is it a subtle hint that was a different Gideon because he didn't have a mustache? I don't know. It's fun stuff. Again, I think Gideon's done and over with, because again, if they bring him back, like,
it's going to be a.
What are they going to do? Like, what are they going to do with him? Like, you've already.
It is kind of neat knowing that every dark was. So is every dark. You know what? I might say that answer is yes, then, because every dark trooper was his clone.
Yeah.
Every dark trooper was a cloned version of him.
Yeah. So
it's not like they were random troopers, but the ones he was working on were the Force sensitive ones. But
the final like his final version was going to be the Force sensitive ones.
100%. There's no reason.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And think about the other Gideon from season 1 and 2, he had the base on Navarro, right?
That's right.
He had the research lab there, and he had his light cruiser that he was cruising around the galaxy with. So was nobody we haven't seen any other personnel with him. It's only just been clones on this base. So did he have a clone? Did he clone himself and have the clone running the base the whole time? If they do it, I could see it. I just think that they picked the wrong time to do it. You know what I mean? I think we've run the course of Gideon.
Yeah, he needed to disappear for a while first.
Yeah. But again, with Star Wars, anyone could come back to life. So Gideon potentially could be out there.
The Young and the Restless in space.
Yeah. What else? So what did you think? Let's just touch on the season as a whole real quick. Probably weaker than seasons 1 and 2, in my opinion. But I thought it was still a very entertaining season.
It's interesting, a lot of the shows we watch, whether it's been Bad Batch, whether it's been Andor, you could always make the same suggestion.
Yeah.
Take something that's 15 episodes long and make it 8. Take something that's 22 episodes long, make it 12. This was really the first example where this was 8 episodes and it should have been 12.
Yeah.
I feel like they sprinted through the entire season.
Yeah, there was some awkward...
A lot of these episodes are 35 minutes long. I mean, they could have made every episode the better part of an hour.
Yeah.
And told, I hate to say this, but told a little bit more of the story. I mean, I remember you and I talking a few weeks ago, and it was what the hell just happened? It was awesome. It was enjoyable.
Yeah.
But 4 things happened from a story perspective in 32 minutes.
The pacing was breakneck, and they
sprinted.
They breezed through so many things that they could have spent time on. And I think my biggest complaint is, if you're going to build up Gideon as your final villain again, why the heck literally season 2, he was throughout the season, which was great. But season 1, last 2 episodes. This season, last 2 episodes. if you're gonna have him as the villain, like make it, yeah, to your point, make it 12 episodes. Give us some more Gideon a little bit throughout it. Like build him up as more of a like what's going on, not just oh he's back and he has a whole new army and rinse repeat. Like that part made it a little less thrilling. Plus, like the whole like I still don't get what was other than there being an Imperial base on Mandalore, like why it's so important. But like
So my main complaint of this season is kind of what you just touched on, but on the other side of the coin. As a Star Wars fan, there has to be a ton of intrigue by you about Mandalore and the history of Mandalore and why it's so amazing and what made that culture so great. I would have liked to have seen a 3-story arc on Mandalore. Like I wanted to be entrenched by live action, what made Mandalore so beautiful and so grand. And at the same time, as you see Bo-Katan realizing that her dynasty had become decadent, show that. Have her have flashbacks. Like I wanted it like when we saw the bombing, the purging in the other season, I thought we were going to get like a good 3 or 4 episodes that was about like, you talk about like Coruscant in its prime, how we really haven't seen it until just recently. Like I want to see a 3 or 4 episode. Like I'll take an entire season on Mandalore in its prime. Like I wanted to fall in love with that culture. I wanted to better understand the separation of Death Watch, which we now know as the Vizslas, really were hanging on to what they were about. I want to see how the Kryze clan got decadent and sloppy and got royal like it would have been amazing. Like they did such a good job, in my opinion, showing the reuniting of Mandalorians. I wanted to see, it was almost like in Battlestar when you have flashbacks of how the city
Caprica and stuff like that.
Like I wanted to fall in love with the Caprica. I wanted to fall in love with Mandalore, right? Jimmy, what's going on, Jimmy? Like that was the one thing I think they really missed on.
Yeah, like we've gotten like we had the Grogu, they've teased the Grogu Order 66 flashbacks, and we loved how that played out. We saw the bombing in the flashback in Mandalore, and even in the Obi-Wan series, we see flashbacks of Obi-Wan and Anakin training and stuff like that.
And the trials.
Even just getting some flashbacks of Bo at the height of the power when the Empire's invading, like just like what was happening at the time, like
or leading up to it. I guarantee. And I don't know this because you're way better, more read, like you're way more read up on this than I am. I'm going to go out on a limb that there had to be some complacency in the Kryze family that led to this purging. There had to be they wouldn't dare because we're Mandalorians. Like, I want to see the moments leading up to that. I want to see that final peak before the valley. I think that there was a humongous opportunity to help us fall in love with and also observe the complacency of Mandalore before the purge, and we just didn't get that.
It's kind of been a bit of a miss on a few Star Wars stories where they gloss over like a juicy piece of storyline. That would be perfect for a TV series or movie, and we just don't get like I just think like the sequel trilogy, right? Like they skipped Luke's temple completely. We just got Luke's temple's been destroyed. You know what I mean? Like there's no like there's so much.
I could have had an entire movie on that. Just give me a 90-minute montage on Luke building a temple and training Jedis.
Yeah, we watched Marvel. Well, Ged's more the big Marvel there than I'll watch the movies. I don't obsess over them, but
I'm probably more of our Marvel guy.
Yeah, you got Marvel questions? You got Star Wars questions? Feel free, Jimmy. Ask them away.
Dump them in. We love the interaction.
So the one thing I will say is it was disappointing to see nothing really happen with the Mythosaur, but they did give us a little tease right? What did you think of that last scene when Grogu's getting adopted there and he looks into the water and then it just zooms all the way down, the mythosaur kind of opens its eyes? Do you it's got to mean something, right? Like well, here's the confusing thing. Bo-Katan went down there and the mythosaur acknowledged her, and then Grogu looks in the water and he gets acknowledged as well. And Grogu obviously we've seen him have force connection with creatures, right?
Same way as Ahsoka did as a child, as we learn in
and
Tales of the Jedi,
Ezra,
right?
the kind of force sensitive there. Like, I don't know.
Yep.
Like, I don't know enough about the mythosaur. Like, is it acknowledging, like, yes, Bo has the true bloodline, and then maybe acknowledging Grogu, I could sense you being the future leader. Anyways, do you think that's a tease setting up that Grogu eventually down the road, when he can actually speak and he's like can actually walk on his own and doesn't need a friggin' giant robot to hold him, will be potentially the leader of Mandalore?
I think what it does is it gives them the option. Now, we know, obviously, just because it gives them the option, it doesn't mean that they're going to explore the storyline. But I think it does give them the option in longevity. It gives them the ability to take this Mandalorian story and continue it almost in real time or every couple of years, or it allows them to move on completely from Bo-Katan and from the child of Praz Vizsla, whose name I don't know because obviously Praz is dead. And it gives them the ability to continue it on there. It's just really, will they do anything about it? Because obviously the original Mandalorian Jedi was the original person to unite Mandalore.
Tar Vizsla.
Tar, that's right. Thank you. So is that does Grogu become that? That symbol,
well,
right?
Timeline wise, right? Grogu's like, there've been he was 50 season 1. He's, I don't know, he's like 55, 56. He probably's got to be, I don't know, 75, 100 to get to that maturity point. So we're looking like sequel trilogy timeline. So I wonder if Grogu becomes an important part. They set him up now, and adult Grogu becomes an important part in the newly announced, New Jedi Order Rey movie.
I mean, that would be incredible. See, that to me would be a great tie-in.
Yeah, because he's never going to lead Mandalore. He can't, like, they won't even let him he had to get adopted just to become a foundling, right? Or whatever it was,
apprentice.
or an apprentice, yeah.
So that, because only his guardian could speak on his behalf.
Yeah, he can't say the creed.
Yeah.
So like no one's going to follow him as like a tiny kid, and Bo-Katan's still alive and well, right? But 30 years, Bo-Katan and
Sabine Wren's going to show up.
Yeah. So like they're not going to be around in sequel trilogy. So I wonder if they're literally laying the seeds here for like Grogu to become a powerful Jedi post First Order sequel trilogy.
I think that it would be a good way to continue the engagement of the Star Wars fans. Right now, Star Wars fandom is in love with Grogu. They have been since he was Baby Yoda, and Mando fought off IG-11. I mean, he has become the center of the Star Wars universe.
It'd potentially be a good way.
It would make sense.
Yeah, it'd potentially be a good way / to build trust / an olive branch to the people who hated the movies, the sequel trilogy, and be like, you like the Mandalorian? Here's Grogu. He's going to be in the movie. Like, we promise we're not going to, mess it up. I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know. It's got, like, to show that scene at the end, it's got to mean something. Like, you don't just show Grogu look in the water and have the mythosaur open its eyes, right?
No, it's fair. So what do you got for Boba? Tell me this Boba Fett thing. You said there's some Boba Fett news.
I see this one, Jimmy, and I see the last one about Marvel. I don't see anything else. All right, Boba news. So Temuera Morrison was speaking at some event in New Zealand, and he basically went on a huge rant. Like, he is pissed at Disney. For
getting him a paycheck for the first time in 25 years.
Well, here, let me actually pull it up since you haven't seen it. It's some of it's a little awkward, to be honest. I'll read it to you.
P.S. I realized the last time that you no longer have bare walls in your office.
Man, my walls have changed like 3 streams in a row with you.
Yeah.
You've never said
I
a
noticed
thing.
them, and I was like,
I'm like, is he blind?
yeah, no, I can see it.
Yeah. All right. So he says, I was supposed to be in Mandalorian season 3, but nobody rang me, was the one. He's like, I was waiting for a phone call in New Zealand, waiting and wanting to give up. So this thing has his quotes all broken up. Let me find a different one that has his actual thing. Yeah, he says, I was supposed to be in Mandalorian season 3, but nobody ended up calling him. Man, did they like scrub all these? Anyways, I'll paraphrase.
Yeah, give me the quote.
He was pissed that he basically said that Din Djarin showed up in his show and ruined the show. Like he was pissed that they like brought him in and like he didn't get those storylines. Like the Mandalorian came in and took over the Book of Boba Fett.
Did he watch the Book of Boba Fett?
But like from his perspective,
I'm just asking for a friend.
But from his perspective, right, he can only do what they tell him to do. It's not like they filmed 4 episodes in and said, "Wow, this is terrible. Let's bring Mando in." Like
that was always the plan. Yeah.
It sounds like he wasn't happy that they shoehorned in the Mandalorian to basically not save, but to be a major contributor to his show.
Yeah.
And then he mentioned.
So hold on before we move on from that point. Yeah. What's your take on it? Do you think that Boba Fett should have got the call? Because you mentioned that in a couple of our streams. Like, would you have wanted to see?
Oh, in Mando season 3, yeah. I thought with the interconnectivity between them, with Mando showing up in his season, I thought he'd show up. He said he was supposed to, and that goes on to allude that there's a lot of changes going on at Disney, and there's been cuts. And sometimes the way I would say this is, use me for an example. My work a little bit. We have surveys that come out and they ask you, does my job hire positions fairly, right?
Yeah.
If I had applied for a new job that year and I did not get it, I would answer negatively to that question every time.
Makes sense.
If I applied to a job and got it that year, I would apply positively. So sometimes he comes off, to me, it kind of came off as maybe sour grapes, being like, oh, I was supposed to be in it, but they never ever invited me. Like, it just sounds like, yeah, they didn't really need you. You thought you were going to. Yeah. But the budget cuts thing tracks, though, because Disney is in the process of laying off 7,000 employees. They're trying to save a ton of money. And if you go back to that show, the scene I showed you with Bo-Katan where they just flipped it, like that screams like reduced budget, being like, okay,
doing it on the cheap.
We need to extend this chase scene by 10 seconds. What can we do? Oh, just play the exact same scene from before and flip it. So like he's probably onto something there, that he was 100% going to be in it was the plan. And they thought, you know what? Maybe we don't bring him back and save a few bucks and just have other random Mandos that anybody could play, right? They could put anyone in a suit and just have a bunch of them instead of actually having Boba Fett. Because when you bring Boba Fett in, then you got to bring in Slave One potentially. And like, that all adds up, right? That's visual effects. And,
it's interesting because when we first brought it up and you asked me, I said no, that I wouldn't want to see him in there. But my mind has actually been changed because of all that crossover. I actually would have liked to have seen Boba Fett in there.
Yeah.
And you're right, it makes sense. I mean, they cross over into each other's universes all the time because they're both Mandalorians. If you are trying to unite Mandalorians, the first thing you would think that Mando would do, that Din Djarin would do, would be to go to his most allied Mandalorian, who also does not walk the way. Like, to me, that would have been their first stop.
Yeah, and his whole sour grapes thing about Mando being in his season just seems a little off because, for one, those episodes were the best episodes of the season.
They were good.
And two, it was only one where Mando completely took over. The finale, they were jointly there, but Boba got all the moments. Boba killed Cad Bane. Boba got to ride the Rancor. Like Boba still got all the big hero moments. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like again, it was one episode, but that one episode was so good and it had Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka in it. So like I don't know, like if he's mad about anything, he should be mad at the writers and the direction. Like
Yeah.
don't be mad that Pedro Pascal showed up and everyone loves him. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Okay. So what else was there? Sorry, I stopped you in that one because I wanted to ask.
No, that was basically it. He basically said
yeah.
there's budget cuts. He was supposed to be in it, but cuts did that, and he was pissed that Mando was in his season. So, like, I don't know. Like, when you air your dirty laundry like that in public, like, I wonder if that's going to impact his future. Like, I was almost certain there was going to be a Boba season 2, but I don't know. Maybe there's not. Like, you don't whine in public, I find. Like once you can whine all you want once that relationship has been severed, right? But that relationship is still alive. Like, for example, like I'd love to talk to you, like, for example, the Ahsoka trailer, right? We see Hera, Sabine, Chopper, the Phantom,
I've only seen it
Ghost. We see Ezra on a hologram. We see all that stuff, but you know what we don't see? We don't see Temuera Morrison as Rex. Like, is he not going to be in Ahsoka? Or are they just holding, they can't show everyone, so they're going to save him a little bit? Or are they like, you know what? Like, you know, maybe we don't need you to tell this story. I don't know. Rex feels like he has to be there, but my other problem with Rex is he's got to be ancient. Like, he's got to be old as hell.
He's going to be 1,000 years old. Like, guy's a fossil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. Oh my god, I'm so excited for Ahsoka.
I know.
When does Ahsoka launch?
It's August, I believe.
Okay.
So it's not even like, I know it's far away, but it's not that far away. It's not like it's like November or like early 2024. It's like going to be soon. And I'm like, I couldn't be any more hyped for a show than Ahsoka. Like, it is phenomenal looking. And there's so many questions of what's going on, but I'll just absorb that and enjoy. What else here? I saw a comment that a news article tried to say it was basically confirmed that Kino Loy will be back for Andor season 2. But I read the quote and I would pump the brakes on it a little tiny bit.
Kino Loy played Andor, right?
No.
Who is Kino Loy?
Andy Serkis.
Oh,
can't swim.
Kino. Sorry, when you said Kino Loy, I'm like, who the hell is that? I didn't picture just the character name.
Oh yeah, Diego Luna was.
Thank you. I'm like, I'm grossly confused here.
So
you don't think it's accurate?
The quote was, someone said, like, was your character alive or something like that, and he said, oh, he's alive and well. He has to make his next move or something like that. So these clickbait articles, man, they interpret things differently. To me, it was definitely not a confirmation. It was just, to me, it was just like, what do you think your character's doing is what it felt like to me.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I don't know, maybe he'll be back. Like, it'd be sweet if he's back.
Oh, be amazing.
I loved everything about him, his scenes, performance, everything. The one axe to grind is the whole can't swim thing. Like, that really pissed me off. But
it also gives them the ability to tell more of a story.
Exactly. But if he's alive and they tell what happens to him next, then maybe I'm not as mad about it. So I think they could fix my biggest complaint with the character if they bring him back in a way that makes sense.
So jumping back, sorry, I'm going to jump back to the Boba Fett thing, because we were talking about because I think where I was going was, does Boba Fett need a season 2? And all I kept thinking was, I would like to see another season with the sheriff, whose name is escaping me.
Cobb
Vanth. Thank you. Like, I would like to see another season, but him coming out of the Bacta tank. Like, I loved Cobb Vanth as a character. I loved his story.
Yeah.
Again, I want to know more about it. I bet you he's got some wicked ass adventures. Like, to me, I hate to say it, but I'd rather watch that than a Boba Fett.
Watching him be like a sheriff sort
Yeah,
of thing.
like cool. Boba Fett, runs the crime syndicate in Tatooine and sits in a chair and eats food. Like, no one cares, man. He did everything he's supposed to do. He brought justice to the character. But having a Cobb Vanth where Boba could jump in and out, to me, that'd be fantastic.
I love Timothy Oliphant, like as an actor. But yeah, him, like, he was born to play a Western sheriff. Like 100%. He did it in Justified, or was he in Deadwood too? I can't remember. He's played that character so many times. Like, I know it's a bit of a typecast, but like it's so him, and he was just so good at that role, and they obviously kept him alive in the end credits. So, yeah,
I would love to see. I'd love to see a Cobb Vanth. I'd love to see that switch over a little bit when it comes to Ahsoka. Like, I feel like there's a spot for him in the universe in general.
Yeah. And then, like, I think we talked about the end of Book of Boba Fett. If Boba Fett does have another season, it's not going to be on Tatooine. Like, he basically said there's nothing for us left here, and him and Fennec wanted to go off, which I thought opens up a lot of possibilities for him, especially if it goes back to bounty hunting or something, like,
or ends up with the Mandalorians.
Yeah,
because he's a Mandalorian.
Yeah,
like, it was definitely a miss not being able to join those two at the end, because then you could have given Fennec Shand the option of, does she exist with the Mandalorians? Does she do her own things? You could spin Fennec Shand off into a show I'd watch 8 seasons on because she's awesome.
So I know we're jumping around a little bit, but I wanted to show you this. I don't think there's a lot of meaning to this, but I think it's really, really cool. So can you see this?
Mm-hmm.
So this is from Rebels, and someone, shout out to whoever it was, did it. There's like the Jedi hieroglyphs, whatever you want to call them, in the background, and someone noticed this. It literally looks like Grogu. It's a Yoda species there, and I can't. If I had the actual episode, I'd zoom in. But like, the other thing too is it almost looks like
those are the 3. Off.
Yeah, but it looked like there was also a Mandalorian in there. I don't know why.
Yeah, because those look like the creatures from the center where the Force merges. Yeah, the old man, the son, and the daughter.
Yeah, so this one looks a little bit different. So like this zoom in, it almost looks like a Mandalorian. But like, I don't know, it's kind of funny that was sitting, like, that was on in Rebels. Because I got to go back and look at the original. I think if you watch Mandalorian the Gallery,
Some Mortis. So they look like
Mortis gods.
Yeah, they look so. On the other side, in the other image, there's a much longer headpiece. It reminds me of the father, and then there's the sister who's part of the light side, and the son who is part of the dark side. That would be wild if that were to be the case, right?
Yeah, like here's the other one. Yeah, I see what you mean.
See on the right,
that looks like the father.
That to me reminds me of the father on Mortis, and then on the left could be the daughter who represents the light side.
You know what this looks like? This looks like those little things that Yoda came across in the last season of Clone Wars, or the last season before the last season.
Yeah.
You know, he went on that trip where he fought Dark Yoda, those like weird force beings. That kind of looks like them. But yeah, it's it's interesting. I wanted to go back and see.
Oh, there's the son. There's the brother and the sister underneath. So that's the brother and the sister. That's the dad up top. That looks like Grogu. But I have no idea who on the left would represent.
Yeah.
That's insane, though. That's a great find.
But like, I don't know if Grogu was created then. Like, that's the one thing I want to confirm. Like, I thought I got to go back and watch those because I thought Grogu was a Jon Favreau creation, not a Filoni. But it'd be interesting to go back and see if Filoni had any input as to what character they were going to put in for Mandalorian.
What if that's not Grogu?
Well, it could just be Yoda, or it could
what if
be
it's Yoda
else.
And the baby and the child would be Grogu?
Possibly. I don't know. But like, again,
it just makes you want to.
Who can you see? Which ones do you see?
Yeah. To be honest, it makes you want to go back through Rebels and go through Clone Wars again before Ahsoka. I want to do a Rebels rewatch. I'm so jazzed for Ahsoka. But I don't know. I mean, that image could depict so much because that could be the father, that could be the sister and the brother, that could be Yoda. That up top could represent, quote unquote, the child that happened to take form as Grogu. I mean, possibilities are absolutely endless. Those are the big whales down on the bottom right side. The force light speed whales, if I had to guess, on the edge of the helmet.
Oh, where? Like this? I think this is a Loth wolf. But
interesting.
It's funny that's there. You know, again, I think it might just end up being a coincidence. But again, like someone purposely designed that and put that in there.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes, Ahsoka does look so good. It is no secret that both Tyler and I are Ahsoka fans in general. Actually, it was you who first introduced me to the character years ago.
Yeah.
And that's when I started getting into Clone Wars.
Do you think Ahsoka is going to suffer from any budget cuts?
If so, I'm going to go fight somebody.
Yeah. Can you imagine they're using horizontal flip-on scenes in Ahsoka? Oh, man.
Yeah. Ahsoka just has so much potential, which is too bad. The beauty about the Mando is that there was no expectations. Everything was cool.
Yeah.
It was almost to not quite nearly to the extent of like an Obi-Wan, but there's so many expectations.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing with Ahsoka. There's so much expectations because, for one, like I'm on record saying I actually like Rebels better than Clone Wars. So to me, Ahsoka is the Rebels sequel, and that alone carries a ton of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
You mean bringing in heir to the Empire elements with Thrawn and Pelion, and Thrawn leading the Imperial remnants and stuff like that against the Republic, that carries a lot of weight.
100%.
Like, there is an insane amount of pressure riding on Filoni to get this right. And, trailers can do a lot of funny things, right? Like, I've seen awesome trailers and the movie sucked. But that Ahsoka trailer was bananas. Like, it surpassed my expectations.
Absolutely.
Of the stuff they showed us. Yeah.
Can we do an Ahsoka trailer live? Like, just play it and review and talk over it at some point? I would love to do that.
Let's wait for when trailer 2 comes out. We'll break it down. Okay. I think they know what they have with it. I doubt they could. Yeah. And like with it being first season, I would hope like everything's already been, set up. And like the other thing too is like Andor had quite a healthy budget, but I think where all this budget cut's coming from is because when Chapek got fired and they brought Bob Iger back in, Bob Iger's been doing sweeping cuts everywhere. He's been cleaning house. So I think, maybe Ahsoka season 1 is fine, but I wonder, like, for any season that's currently in development, I can't help but wonder if they have had to do any adjustments or anything. But
yeah.
Last topic, Ed, before we get out of here. And it was kind of the theme of the video, which we haven't even discussed. But what is next for The Mandalorian? And it seems pretty obvious, and a lot of people have talked about it, but there was a show that one Gina Carano was supposed to star in called Rangers of the New Republic, which got canned. And we end the season with Din Djarin basically signing up for the New Republic, and he wants to take out Imperial remnants. So Mando season 4 pretty much sounds like it's going to be Rangers of the New Republic, considering he signed up through Kim's Convenience. And again, I apologize, I'm never going to get his actual character's name right. I always default to that. But he signed up through him, who is a New Republic X-Wing pilot. We know Zeb's in the core and stuff like that. So like, it's really setting up to be him exploring the galaxy, doing some investigating, and it makes a lot of sense because eventually he's going to have to hook up. Like you got like they've already like there's no surprise here. Ahsoka, Book of Boba, Mando, all those things are going to eventually combine at some point. So it makes sense that Mando will eventually link up with the Ahsoka crew because Hera, Sabine are all part of the New Republic, right? It makes sense if they're looking for reinforcements or someone has a tip about Imperial remnants. That person might be Mando, and who's he going to report that to? Maybe Captain Hera Syndulla, and we get that connection there. So what are your thoughts? It's pretty obvious that's where Mando season 4 is going, right?
It reminds me of, and you're just looking up. I think what you're going to see is you're obviously going to see Ahsoka happen, and then you're going to have this culmination show, almost like, and I dare to use this term for anybody who is a Marvel TV show fan is going to cringe. But you remember when they tried to do the whole Defenders thing when you had Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Daredevil?
Yeah.
Really cool concept, except a couple
TV version of the Avengers.
Garbage, yeah. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Luke Cage. I really enjoyed Daredevil as a show.
I actually kind of like the Defenders, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you're gonna see basically that. You're gonna have your Hera, your Sabine Wren, your Mando, maybe your Cobb Vanth if I'm lucky, your Boba Fett. Like, I would love to see that be how the Mandalorian show wraps up.
Well, it's wrapping up in a movie, right? Were you around for that news? Yeah,
I saw it. I saw it earlier today that they're going to wrap it up in a movie. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like almost that is like a send off.
Yeah, and like if you're going to wrap it up in a movie, have everyone on the big screen, it makes sense to go back and get all those A-list actors you've introduced and purposely kept alive.
Yep.
To kind of show up and come together.
Like imagine a 2-hour banger, like I said, with the names I just mentioned, your Sabine Wren, your Mando, your Seb, your Hera, your Boba Fett, like
Choppa.
Right? A drop in with Ahsoka. Like, I mean, just the potential, like Fennec. Like, why not? Like that would, it would almost remind me of, again, I'm going to take this to a different property. What made the first Marvel movie Avengers Assemble so good is we had the ability to get to know and fall in love with each character beforehand.
Yeah.
So Star Wars has done an amazing job of that in general over the last little while. Being able to tie these together with some cameos of Luke in his prime, Ahsoka, the introduction of the Hera and her squad. I mean, what an amazing way to finish that off in a movie. That would be how I would love to see it happen.
Yep. I would imagine it'll be the Ahsoka crew and plus Mando and probably Bo, I would think, being front and center. And then everyone else will come in for their little hero supporting cameo type things.
Yep.
But so speaking of Bo, this was more or less the Bo-Katan season. Do you think Katie Sackhoff takes an immense step back Mando season 4? Or do you think she continues on as basically she's more or less a co-star this season? I don't think she stays at that level. I think she'll still be involved in an episode or two, but I think she's going to take a big step back.
I think it depends. I think like right now he's by himself with Grogu. I think that if he's out chasing Imperial remnants,
he's got to go and do his
up
thing
with the Hera crew.
Yeah.
I think the Mandalorian, and you and I talked about this in the middle of the season. I said one thing that really frustrates me is when people are getting mad at the whole Bo-Katan thing. Like, the show is not called Din Djarin. It's called The Mandalorian. It's about the religion of the Mandalorians.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to see the Mandalorian show continue on about Mandalorians. It's not about Din Djarin.
Yeah.
Like, I see Din Djarin branching into that crew, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they're going to end up linking up with Ahsoka, who, if Din Djarin were to demise at some point, would be able to continue their training with Ahsoka, but also be a Mandalorian. Like, to me, that's how that story arc goes, right? Like, I know that sounds horrible, but I don't see Mando sailing off into the sunset. I think in this movie, Din Djarin faces an incredible hero's death, and Grogu ends up with Ahsoka because he's already a Mandalorian, and then we'll continue on the Jedi path, but we'll end up with the Darksaber or something. I don't know, but that's how I see that branch going, right?
Yeah, you know what? You bring up an interesting point. To make Thrawn a credible villain, there's going to have to be some pretty significant deaths.
And there'd be no greater death than the end of an incredible story for Din Djarin than death at the hands of Thrawn.
Yeah, because
not that you want to see him die, but he can't live forever. Like, he's lived an incredible journey. And let's be honest, Grogu needs to get back with Jedis, but he needs to be enough of a Mandalorian that he can walk in both paths.
I was going to say, I think Grogu's going to be more Mando than Jedi. But yeah, they can't fumble Thrawn. Like, Thrawn has to go down as like one of their greatest villains, like, or else fans are going to be upset. He can't be a one-note character.
Oh yeah.
I think there was actually a comment from Favreau though that said that the movie doesn't necessarily end Mando's story. If there's stories to tell, they'll keep moving forward with the series. I think the movie is more or less the culmination of Thrawn. But if they defeat Thrawn, then everything's going to kind of seem like small potatoes moving forward. You know what I mean? If they keep the series going, but I don't know. We'll see.
And I don't think they defeat Thrawn.
Well, they got to.
Why?
He's not a well. He's
why
not
can't he be the villain in the movie?
Well, yeah, no. Thrawn will be the villain in the movie.
I see what you're saying.
Thrawn will be defeated in the movie. Yeah.
I thought you meant like they defeat him in Ahsoka.
Like, no. Yeah, no. Thrawn's going to be putting some toe tags on some people.
Yeah. All right. That was cool. That was a bit of a mishmash of a podcast. I like that, though. We've been at it for a while.
Yeah.
Bit of a long one.
All right. So next week is May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
It falls on Thursday. So I think next week what we'll do as a programming note is postpone Wednesday to Thursday.
Thursday night is the opening night of Guardians 3.
Oh, so you're
and I have opening night tickets, a box of Kleenex, and I am not ready for what's going to happen.
You're not ready for Rocket and Drax? I'm assuming those two are both dying,
at
right?
least.
Yeah.
I mean, for a series of 3 movies that started out and took the world by storm and everyone laughed, I feel like I am going to sob in this movie. I'm so looking forward to it, but it's going to be a lot to digest.
Who's the villain in this new Guardians? Do you know? Have they said?
I've stayed away.
You've stayed away?
I've stayed away. I'm trying. I made the mistake of having an opinion on Wakanda Forever. I will never do it again. I'm staying out of it. I officially don't give a shit what happens as long as it's good. Wakanda Forever taught me a lesson to not have an opinion.
Yeah, I hear you.
Stupid Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, I wanted to cry during the Ahsoka trailer.
Oh man, I'm so pumped. But so
when do you want to do it? Because what's dropping is it's Visions, right? All the Visions episodes. So it's probably, if it's anything like the first season, it's probably gonna be about an hour. How long did it take us to watch it that last time when we binged it at your place?
Just
hour
over an
more.
Hour.
Yeah. So
we could do a morning stream on the Wednesday and give our number one thing to watch on May the 4th.
It won't be out on Wednesday though.
No, it'll be the day before. So tomorrow's May the 4th. What are you watching? I mean, I work, but I can probably still sneak in like a Star Wars movie or something.
All right, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Let
us know in the comments what you guys
we'll
want
chat
to
over.
see.
Yeah. For anyone who's watching this, for anyone who stays in touch, Tyler, make a note on the notes below. Yes. These signs, I cannot wait to see it. Tyler will drop a note. Stay tuned for his channel in terms of what we're going to do next week. We'll do something to celebrate for the Thursday.
Yeah, May 4th. And we'll have something up about Visions. We'll do our standard review. I just don't know when it's going to be because of Guardians and if it being shifted. And you know what? Thursday night. Oh, no, my baseball starts the week after. But yeah, summer's going to start getting busy.
All right. So the week after we can review Visions.
Yeah.
We can team watch it or whatever.
All right. That'll do it. That will wrap it up for us.
It's a long one.
Yeah.
That was great, though. Sorry I missed it last week. I was in Vegas playing golf. It was absolutely fantastic.
Sounds terrible.
It was great.
Yeah. See everyone next week. Peace out.
Cheers.